AI isn't coming, it's here, and it's really changing everything. It changes the way we work, think, create, connect. I'm Jason Kuchek, and I'll help you cut through the noise of AI hype so you can find out for yourself how you can use AI tools in your day to day life. Whether you're a complete newcomer or a seasoned pro, AI can unlock something extraordinary for you or your business, and I'm going to help you. Last week, we took a practical look at what current AI tools are actually good at, where they fall short, and how you can learn to guide AI to pretty impressive results. Today, I'm going to dig deeper into one of last week's buzzwords. We talked about vibe coding. While this episode is for everyone, I want to extend a special invitation to people who know nothing about coding. No matter what your skill level, if you follow along through this episode, you'll see for yourself that AI can enable you to do much more than you think. This week in 3 parts, I'm going to make you a vibe coder. We'll talk about what that means. We'll get hands on building a website in just a few prompts. And then we'll explore how vibe coding can be your launch point to actually learn while you build, but only if you want to. So if you've ever had an idea for a website or an app, but you were held back because you aren't a coder, or you can't afford to pay one, or you just hate coding, this episode is for you. As always, I'll leave you with a little something to ponder at the end of the episode. All right, let's get to it. All right, part one, what is vibe coding? Simply put, vibe coding is a process where instead of writing code, you describe what you want in plain language. Your ideas, features you want, maybe a design you have, and then an AI model that's been trained on millions of lines of code translates your ideas into code while you watch. This is perfect for creative thinkers and visionaries, and while it needs to be guided and managed like any other current AI tool, it can't allow anyone with basic computer skills to get results that would take them months of development time and a lot of money using traditional methods. I've personally built quite a bit with the methods I'm going to walk you through, and with some practice, you can prototype ideas in hours or days instead of weeks and months. It's pretty amazing. So imagine having an idea for a website or an app. You hop into your favorite chatbot and tell it what you want, and it immediately starts writing HTML, CSS, and maybe some JavaScript. Before this scares you away, if you don't know what any of that means, don't worry. You don't need to know. Just know that the AI does all of the heavy lifting. You guide it with words, not code. Now, this isn't to say that it always works perfectly, but it generally delivers a working code base in just a few minutes. If you develop the skill to guide it to the finish line, you'll be able to fine tune your work, find and fix bugs, and all without learning a single line of code if you don't want to. All right, now, why should you care? There are 3 things about vibe coding that will probably change how you think about building and creating technical projects. First, anyone with basic computer skills can jump in and start creating, no coding knowledge needed. If you can create a new Word document or save a PDF to your computer, you can do this. Second, compared to the typical development process, it's lightning fast. Whether you're a complete beginner or an experienced developer, you can bring your ideas to life in just a few minutes, and I'm really not exaggerating. If you follow along with me, you'll see for yourself. Then you can decide if I'm just hyping this up or if there's really something to it. Finally, and this is really the most exciting part for me, remember I used to be a scuba instructor. I do not have a computer science degree. AI transforms intimidating walls of code into a simple conversation. It's like having a tech-savvy friend who's always ready to help turn your ideas into reality. But your friend knows just about every coding language in the world and can easily translate between them. If you can tell your friends about your idea, you can use the same conversation to turn your idea into something real. All right, let's build a website. Part two, let's get hands on. All right, we're going to start at step 0. We need to set the stage. For this one, you'll need 2 things. First, you need access to a chatbot. Similar to earlier episodes, it doesn't really matter which one you use. The free versions of all of the major frontier models can vibe code a website. If you really get into it and you want to vibe code more complex projects, there are some coding tools that can make the process much more powerful. But for now, we're just going to work with a simple chatbot. All right, next you need a text editor. You want something even simpler than Microsoft Word. On Windows, Notepad is a good choice. On a Mac, TextEdit is built in, and it'll do everything that we need. In this case, really, the simpler the better. First, open your text editor and create a new file. Quick note if you're using a Mac, select Format from the top menu and select Make it plain text. Remember when I said I wanted it simple? I really mean it. In Windows, Notepad should already create the new file in plain text format, so this change shouldn't be necessary there. Now name the file index.html and save it. All right, leave it open and blank for now. We're going to do that again. Create a second file, also in plain text format, named about.html. Just like the first file, make sure you save it, but leave it open. Now we're going to jot down a few notes or use your chatbot to do a little brainstorming. Write down a made up name for your website, a catchy tagline, and pick 2 or 3 colors that you like for your theme. If you've heard of some more advanced coding tools and you're wondering why we're not using them, the answer is that I want you to see that you can get real working results with free tools and zero coding experience. For now, our stage is set. Let's go to work. Keep in mind that I'll add all of the prompts I use to the show notes, so you can just copy and paste them in if you don't want to write your own. All right, step 1, create your website. So start a new chat using whatever chatbot you like best. Remember from previous episodes, you can tell it what you want, you can give it background information, you can also tell it anything you don't want. In this example, tell your AI that you want to build a single-page website. Tell it to write your index.html page. Give it the name you wrote down earlier, your tagline, and the color scheme. At this stage, make sure it knows that you want everything in one file. This will keep the example from getting too complex too quickly. We're going to add to it. All right, this is my complete first prompt. I have an idea for a new website. Please generate my complete index.html file. The name of the site is Vibe Coding with Emergent Intelligence. Please include the tagline, "Everyone can code," in the center of the page under the title. Write a paragraph under that welcoming the user to the site. Use a color scheme of blue, black, and orange. Do not use the color yellow. I don't like it. I want everything contained in one file. That's it. That's kind of a long prompt, but just so you know, most chatbots can make sense out of much longer prompts these days. So hit submit and watch your idea turn into code. Also, just note that we'll dig into learning how the code works later. You don't need to understand the code for this example to work. You do need to understand how to guide your AI. Now, once it's finished, copy the complete code. Now, most chatbots include a copy function, but if you're having to select the code manually, just make sure that you copy everything. Paste it into your open index.html file and save it. That took me about 30 seconds. I don't know how long it took you. It took longer for me to write the prompt than it took to generate the code. All right, now let's inspect our work. Find your index.html file in your File Explorer. Since it's an HTML file, if you double-click on it, it should just open up in your default browser. If that doesn't work, you can just drag and drop it into an open browser window and it will open. You should have made a very simple but working website with no code required. Remember, AI can make mistakes, and if it sometimes takes a few tries to get everything you need, that's okay. Now, when you have the basic homepage up and running, it's time to move on. All right, let's move on to step 2, the About page. Most websites include some sort of story about the company, so let's write ours. The root of this story can be real or imagined. It really doesn't matter. Remember, this is just an example. But let's combine 2 AI strengths, creative generation and coding. We're going to introduce our company in our prompt. Then we're going to ask the chatbot to write a 3-paragraph story about the company that's engaging and funny. Then we're going to actually convert that story into an About Us page for the website. Now, you could probably do this all in one prompt, but remember that if a single prompt gets too complex, the chances of your AI making a mistake go up. So sometimes it's better to just kind of take things one step at a time. So my About Us prompt will be the following. Emergent Intelligence is an education and consulting firm specializing in AI onboarding. We're creating a website and need to tell our story. Please write a 3-paragraph introduction that we can put on our website. Use engaging language and make this story entertaining and funny. Hit submit. All right, now read through the story and see if it's good enough for our example. If not, tell your AI what you don't like or what you'd like changed, and then let it try again. Remember, as we covered last week, another AI strength is adaptability and learning through feedback. All right, now I like my example, so I'm just going to use it as is. Remember that your chatbot is aware of your prior prompts and its prior responses. That's really going to work for us in this next step. So in this step, I'm going to direct the chatbot to convert the story it just helped me write into an About Us web page called about.html. Then I'm going to tell it to make it match the style of the index page and to be sure to keep it all in one file. Because I want to take things slow, I'm going to tell it not to include any kind of navigation between the pages yet. So my complete prompt will be convert the About Us story you just generated into an About Us web page called about.html. Ensure that it matches the style of the index page you generated above. Do not include any kind of navigation between pages. I want everything for the about.html file contained in a single file. So notice my emphasis on just having a conversation with my AI. I'm using plain language to tell it what I want and what I don't want. This may be a little bit of a longer file, and free versions of frontier models may take a few moments to generate what you need. So be patient. When it's done generating, just like we did before, copy the complete code and paste it into your open about file. Save the file and then find it in your file explorer, and just like we did with the index.html file, double click it or drag it into a browser window and check it out. All right, what do you think? Do you like it? Does it actually match the style of your first page? It should. So keep both text files open because we're not done yet. Now let's add some navigation. In the same chat, give your AI the following prompt. Please modify both the index.html file and the about.html file to include tabbed navigation at the top of the page. Please make sure that the layout is professional. Ensure that all code is contained in just these two files. All right, now once your chatbot has fully generated both files, and it should, copy them and completely replace the previous code with the new code. I like to actually delete the old code and then paste in the new code just to make sure that there's no overlap to mess things up. All right, now go back to your browser and refresh the window and look at your navigation. So, two things to pay attention to here. First, you didn't need to know anything about how web page navigation works to add it to your site. The same is true for any other website and app feature. If you can describe it, you can have it. Second, with you guiding your AI through the process, you get what you want through a conversation. But don't underestimate the importance of staying engaged. You're still a central part of this equation. Now let's play with the style. Remember, if you don't know exactly what to ask for, you can just describe what you're trying to accomplish. You can even do this and have your chatbot help you write the prompt you need to get the code you want. So instead of change the background color to X or change the font color to Y, you can just say things like change the colors to make the site more readable. Do you see how I'm asking for what I want to accomplish instead of asking for exact changes? This can help you explore your ideas really quickly, even if you don't know exactly what to ask for. So that's what I'm going to do in my example. I also want to make sure the site will look good on desktop monitors of different sizes, tablets, and mobile. So I'm going to add some specifics. This is my follow-up prompt. I want to make some changes to the style. I want to keep the general color scheme, but I want the text to be more readable. Please modify the colors and style to accomplish this. Also, I want to ensure that the layout is dynamic so that it looks good on any desktop, in any size window, on tablets, and especially on mobile phones. Please regenerate complete copies of both files with these changes incorporated. Okay, again, we can dive into how this works and what the code means if we want to. But in vibe coding, this is optional and not mandatory. It is no different than a good manager with a team of experts. Effective managers provide guidance, but they know when to delegate. You just get to delegate to a coding assistant that knows every available coding language. Now, once you have both files regenerated, copy and paste them into the open text editor files again. Go back to your browser and refresh the window. What do you think of the style changes? Now resize the window. Be sure to max it out and also make it very small. And tell me, is your website responsive? Mine is. Now, if you have a specific change you want to make that's not covered in this example, give it a shot and see what happens. You are now managing a coding expert. So your challenge is knowing how to ask for what you want, and that is going to take some practice. I recommend you give it a try. All right, now where do you go from here? At this point, you have an admittedly basic but fully functioning website, and maybe you've added a few bells and whistles. Do you want to add a mailing list subscription section? Do you want to allow users to register and log in? Do you want to embed a video? Tell your coding assistant what you're trying to accomplish and ask it for direction. You can even ask it to recommend specific solutions, tell you their pros and cons, and then once you've decided which solution is best for you, you can have it built, all within the same chat. So let's take a second and talk about bugs. Whether you code or not, and whether you vibe code or code manually, bugs will happen. But I think it's helpful to treat them like you would if you were working with a development team. Tell your AI what's wrong. Tell it your expectations, give it error messages or screenshots, and then let it work on fixing the problem. It can take a few tries, but that would be true if it were human too. All right, part 3, the learning launchpad. Okay, we've seen what can be done with absolutely no coding knowledge required. But what if you actually are interested in understanding how it works under the hood? Let's take our website as an example. So we're going to assume that you know nothing about coding, but you want to understand it better. In the same chat, give your AI this prompt. I'm interested in understanding this code, but I'm not a trained coder. Please tell me generally how the index.html page works. Break down the major sections of code and explain them to me in terms that a non-coder will understand. Summarize the main ideas in this file and then suggest what I should study next if I want to learn more. Now scan through your results and ask for clarification for anything that you don't quite get. The takeaway is that if you want it to explain how something works or to train you how to write code of your own, AI is more than capable. So no matter what your skill level is that you're starting with, you can move forward vibe coding. Also, if you're looking to understand how a specific aspect of your web page works, you can just ask about that one thing. For example, what line of code controls the color of the tagline in my index.html file? Look at the results. So in this way, you can narrow down what you're looking for so you can make specific changes yourself or learn about specific things. It is really empowering. So one final point on this. As you're adding features and complexity to your app or to your website, remember that the AI coding assistant you're using doesn't just give generic answers. It gives you answers with at least some understanding of your project. It knows what you're trying to do, and it knows your specific code. So because of this, your AI can help you find code that's the best solution for your specific use. There are a lot of different ways to code. You can use vibe coding to design and develop based on what you have already built and what you're trying to do. It can also answer general coding questions as well. For example, I want to add an email subscription box to the bottom of my index page. What is a popular and secure way of doing this? Don't change the code yet. I'm just exploring this idea. See what you get back. While we won't add this feature to our example here, you can see pretty quickly that vibe coding allows you to simultaneously explore ideas, build, and, if you want to, learn. It's time for our buzzword. This week's buzzword is multimodal, and it's kind of a game changer. So most AI models are specialists. If you want to identify cat breeds from images, you train a model on thousands of cat photos labeled with their breeds. If you want an AI that converts speech to text, you train it on sound and transcripts. Each model is tuned for a specific type of data. But what if you need an AI that works across multiple types of information, like text, images, video, or sound, without switching models, or without trying to weave together 5 different kinds of models and get them to somehow cooperate? So that's where multimodal AI comes in. So multimodal models, I know that's a bit of a mouthful, they can process and generate multiple types of content all at the same time. Right now, that usually means handling both text and images, but the concept really extends to video, audio, structured data, really anything that AI can touch. Imagine an AI that reads a document, watches a video, and listens to an audio recording, and then synthesizes all of that information into a single intelligent response. Okay, so this isn't just about convenience, although that is definitely a factor, but it actually mimics how humans learn and interact. We combine sight, sound, language, and experiences to accomplish complex tasks. So multimodal AI is trying to do the same thing. It's time for this week's Ponderable. This is really my favorite part of the entire show. This week's topic is synthetic consciousness and the illusion of self. Is there a difference between human consciousness and a self-aware AI? So let me set the stage. If an AI someday claims to be self-aware, which, depending on who you talk to, is probably coming sometime soon, how would we know? And how would we test it? Would it be a trick of language, a complex prediction engine that just perfectly replicates self-reflection? Or would it be something more? All right, now here's the twist. How do we prove that we are self-aware? We have a few different ways of looking at this. So neuroscience defines consciousness as the ability to experience and integrate information. Now, if we break this apart, AI can definitely integrate information. And I'm not really a neuroscientist, so I don't really understand what they mean by experiencing information. I don't know how that's defined. But I do know that I can give information to an AI and it can integrate it into its responses and can build on it over time. So maybe that's experience, maybe that's not. Now, for a different twist, if we look at it from the perspective of philosophy, Self awareness is seen as a continuous, subjective sense of who you are. I don't know how that really applies to AI, but it might. I'm interested in your thoughts. So, other theories suggest, and this one I think is kind of interesting, that consciousness emerges from the sheer complexity of interwoven data. So, once you have enough connections in your brain or in your computer, consciousness is somehow just created. For my own part, I've learned and developed my sense of self over time, I think, through direct experiences with the world around me. I gather new information, I apply it to new situations, I base decisions on what I think will or won't happen next time. And this really, to me, seems very similar to how a complex AI might experience the world. So, what really will set us apart? What actually sets us apart now? I'm super curious about your thoughts on this. Love to hear what you think. Please comment and let's get the conversation started. Well, all right, that's it for today's episode. I hope you feel more powerful than you did before. I really do. We learned generally what vibe coding is and why coders and non coders alike should both care about it. We got hands on by building a website from scratch without writing any code ourselves and without any specialized coding tools. We also explored how an AI coding assistant can be your personal tech mentor. And finally, we pondered the nature of consciousness. If you loved this episode, and especially if it left you feeling inspired, please subscribe and check out our other episodes and content on our YouTube channel. If you want to connect or ask any questions, please leave a comment or reach out directly. Also, please stay tuned for a special deep dive episode digging into vibe coding more complex projects from beginning to end. I'll show you my entire tool stack and we'll work through an entire project, including generating the code, debugging, and deploying. We use a couple of dedicated and supercharged development environments. Again, no coding experience required. Please do share this episode with anyone you think might love it. It really helps me. The future isn't just happening to us, we're shaping it. Let's explore and understand it together.